Pisces, welcome to your weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for September 12th through the 18th of 2016. I'm Athen, and this is for Sidereal Astrology. If you are new to the channel, be sure to check out the link down below because the signs are different. All right, so Pisces, this week, another very powerful week in September. We've got a lunar eclipse taking place in your sign, in Pisces. So this is the illumination of the life path, particularly the old energies that are no longer serving us, because this lunar eclipse is associated with the south node this time of the year. So a lot of this is about old ideas of self, old perspectives of self, old ideas of independence, things that are about your self-interests, your needs, your personal needs, that it's good to do the status check with. You'll likely notice that there's some old patterns that are maybe occurring that you can allow to let go of, to allow to flow, because these energies are trying to move. They're trying to transform into something else, but subconsciously we could be holding on to them. So seeing if there's any old patterns there relating to that, but at the same time, there's a new beginning. There's a continuation of this solar eclipse cycle, which is seeing what is working in your first house. That has to do with you, your self-awareness, your personal needs, your independence, and cultivating that. So very important time, and all of it is for you to be cultivating what is this next year and a half's life path of your work, of your everyday experiences, of your routine, of your personal development. Taking care of the time and the energy and even the space, you could say, in order to cultivate a healthy, grounded lifestyle. And that's what the sixth house is. It could be, again, through your health, diet, routine. It could also be through your work. A lot of you are developing your crafts for the first time now, over many years, because the North Node has recently shifted into here, and it's an 18-year cycle. So new beginnings, and it's all about learning, about these things, about self-improvement, about your work, about your crafts. And with that willingness to learn, there's a lot of positive energy moving forward for you here. Now, with that being said, Mercury is retrograde in the 6th, so there's a reconsideration this week, as you may have noticed the second half of last week, this reconsideration of this area, how you can maybe change the routine, or maybe there's some things to modify about it, or maybe at work, rethinking some things regarding your work or your job or whatever it is you do on that daily level. And so with that modification, there's a lot to learn. It's great to be flexible. It's great to try new things. And again, reconsider this, because it's good to allow this change to occur, because new information and new things are coming to light at this time. So that's the opposition, actually, to the lunar eclipse. Will be opposing up to Mercury. So it's important to have that reevaluation during this time. It will be conjoining up to Chiron, who has recently entered into your first house. So there might be some healing taking place this week that has to do with yourself, has to do with your pursuits and your confidence of going out and pursuing your desires in life, and even of yourself feeling wounded, perhaps, generally speaking. So depending on your personal charts, if that does come to the forefront, know that it's an excellent time to do the healing. Know also that it's an internal thing, not necessarily an external thing. In other words, the wounds don't mirror reality. They're an internal wound, and that's where they end. But they're still important in that, of course, we have to do the healing. So being aware of it, accepting the wounds perhaps, all of this can help transform you, help you rejuvenate and heal, which is Chiron in that first house. Now, as you might guess, this lunar eclipse is collectively challenging, because it has been this whole solar eclipse cycle with this T-square, and now this T-square is particularly emphasizing Mars. So when it comes to the drives, when it comes to the ambitions, when it comes to the energy in life, there's a bit of tension. There's a bit of clash here. And so it could be an over extreme of Mars for some of you, maybe wanting to come out of the gates and pursue some of these possibilities and potentials in life, which is Mars in the 9th, or maybe about philosophy or teaching or travel. But it can also be an under extreme of those things. If you're feeling maybe not enough energy, maybe you have to will yourself to take some action or set some intention, then maybe it's good to bring in a bit of that, because there's a propensity towards imbalance during the square. And it could be an over extreme, in which case you want to sort of tone it down a bit, take a pause, take a break. If it's an under extreme of that masculine drive energy and pursuing those desires, maybe it's bringing it in a bit, setting some intentions and maybe willing yourself to take some healthy actions there. So that'll be important because Mars is going to be forming a lot of squares this week with the Mercury retrograde, with the Sun, with Chiron, with the lunar eclipse. So really emphasized this week. So the lunar eclipse will be on Friday. I do want to mention that will be the status check points a few days before, a few days after. It's good to have that awareness and again move the things forward that are working for you there involving you. Now leading up to that, Mercury retrograde will go over the Sun, so there is again some insights maybe about the work or the routine stuff for you, which is great. The Sun is shifting into your 7th house midweek. So there is going to be this shift of focus towards relationships, more than likely. This has probably already been the case with your ruler Jupiter here over the past few weeks, but there's a bit more energy now on relationships. So it's great to focus on them. It's great to do this sort of, the self-expression, see what you enjoy there, and focus and learn about the relationship side of things with Jupiter, because there's a lot of wisdom coming in at the moment for you about the whole relationship sphere, about the importance of cooperation, of partnerships, and for some of you too, maybe legal matters or contracts or business dealings. Venus is here too, helping you connect with those relationships in a connected way, in a way that has to do with the more surface level things, lightening it up. It could be enjoyable there with Venus. All right, so that's the relationship shift. And as we go into the weekend, we are going to have, luckily, Mars trined by Uranus, which is easing up that square to Mars, which is nice. That'll be particularly Friday, Saturday, maybe a bit into Sunday. And so this is coming from your 1st house. So you could be feeling perhaps freeing, but independence, individualistic, having that freedom of being your true self and getting things done in the process. There could be some motivation there. Depends on how the squares are panning out, also on your personal chart, but it is good to have this liberating feeling collectively anyways, going into the weekend with the drive, with the motivation and things you might be pursuit on. I want to mention also that Uranus is going to be opposing up to Venus, so balance will be important. Kind of goes without saying with all this emphasis on yourself and all this emphasis on relationships at the moment. Balancing these two areas, of course, they're really one and the same. We can't have good relationships if we don't have balanced and healthy self and independence, and vice versa. We can't have independence if know more about ourselves if we don't have good relationships. So it's about both. In other words, seeing your personal needs and others' needs at the same time and really seeing them as one and the same. What is good for us is good for others, and there's certainly that middle path there. But yeah, could be freeing, could be you expressing yourself, being who you truly are, and incorporating that into relationships. All right, Pisces, so this week, certainly the emphasis here on your 1st house with the lunar eclipse. Great time to do the status check in general. The 1st house is you, but it's also your whole life. It's very significant to have full moons and especially lunar eclipses in our signs. So status check in general and seeing if there's some old patterns, some old things to be released with the South Node. See where you can bring some balance here with Mars, with the motivation or drive that is or may not be there, but balancing that. And all for you to be learning about the importance of personal development, of routine, time management, energy management, developing your crafts, your work, your job. All these things is the focal points of this and really the life path for you to particularly learn more about this week. All right, so Pisces, have an excellent week. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next week.